How much does buying your first home actually cost? There are a lot of hidden fees involved that, frankly, no one really tends to talk about. So in this video, I'm going to cover all the expenses that you might run into so you can be better prepared when you go to buy your first place. Welcome to Adulting, where we cover property and life. My name is Jeremy Shirazi and I'm your friend in the business, and today we're going to cover off on the hidden fees which are involved with buying your first home. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor, but I am a property consultant. So today's video is to give you an overview of all the costs that you're going to run into, and please keep in mind these costs will vary state to state, person to person. So you're on the hunt for your first home, you've got your hard-earned deposit in hand or in the bank, and you found a property that you like, and you can see the asking price. Is it that simple? Unfortunately not. So let's run through a few points. Now, the obvious first point is your deposit. Your deposit will be split into two parts, your initial deposit and also your settlement funds. Your initial deposit will be paid generally within 7 days of having your offer accepted on a property. That gets paid into a real estate agent's trust account, which is a safe account, a non-interest bearing account. The settlement funds will be transferred prior to settlement, ready for the transfer to take place. Agents might ask anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 for this initial holding deposit. It can be lower, it can be higher, but at the end of the day, the main thing is it's required to complete the contract. The next cost you may run into is pre-purchase inspections. These may consist of building, termite, and pool inspections, and they're inspections that you have done once you've had your offer accepted on a contract to make sure that everything is okay with the property. Now in WA, on average, you might spend collectively between $600 to $1,000 on these inspections, depending on the inspector and the scope of the inspection and how deep they're looking. So get a few quotes, make sure you go with someone that's reputable, as the quality of those reports can vary. Now, depending on your deposit amount versus the purchase price of the property, you'll be able to work out your LVR, which is your loan to value ratio. Now, most banks want around 20% deposit. Otherwise, if you have less than that, then you can get charged with something called lender's mortgage insurance. For a little bit more information on that, click up here or here, I don't know where it's going to be, but click on one of those links and that'll take you through to another video that I've done explaining LMI in more depth. Some buyers may work with buyer's agents. Now, this is an extra cost on top of everything else. And there are pros and cons for obviously going with a buyer's agent. The pros being that they help you look around, they know the area that you're looking in, they help you with the contracts and help you get through to settlement. And while all of that is beneficial, it's also an extra cost. Many first home owners that I meet aren't working with buyer's agents, they're actually going through the process themselves. And in doing so, they gain a lot of experience, knowledge, and also they save the money of not having to pay a buyer's agent. Or feel free to consult with a friend in the property business. They might be able to give you some free tips on helping you along your journey. If you are a buyer's agent listening to this, I'm not trying to talk you out of business. I'm sorry, my bad. Loan establishment fees are another cost which you will have to allow for. Now, lenders may charge you a mixture of application fees, valuations, solicitors' fees, but that will depend on which bank or which lender that you go with. Check with your broker to find out which one's going to suit you best. The infamous stamp duty. Now, while most of us hate getting hit with this fee, it's a reality of buying property. The benefit for first home buyers is that there are concessions in place. State to state, do research and find out what you're covered for, because you may be able to get away with paying a minimal amount or even zero, depending on if you meet the requirements. Now, in Western Australia, the cap is $430,000 as a purchase price. So if you purchase for something less than that, you pay no stamp duty on an established home. But if you're paying between $430,000 to $530,000, it's basically $19.51 for every $100 you creep up through that range. Once you hit $530,000, you're basically paying a full rate of stamp duty. So do your research. If you can get something for under $430 in WA and not pay anything, awesome. If you're paying above that, just calculate how much that's going to be. Legal fees. Now, there's a lot of behind the scenes paperwork to transfer a property into your name. And unfortunately, when it comes to legal fees, we don't tend to get quotes until we're basically signing off a contract. So a conveyancer, which you would have heard of, or a property lawyer, which helps you transfer a property into your name, these guys will have their own fees which they charge. Your real estate agent or your broker might have one that they work with, but it doesn't hurt to get extra quotes to make sure you're getting good value for money. When you are getting quotes for conveyancers, just be mindful, all quotes aren't all inclusive. The conveyancer will have their own fee that they will charge, and there will also be transfer and government fees on top of that. Make sure that you have a chat with your conveyancer, find out what their fees are, and ask for a breakdown of the rest of the costs as well. And once you have all of those costs, you'll be able to see what you're up for in total. A lot of buyers I meet fall into the trap of going, well, the conveyancer said they're only going to charge me $600, but in the end it cost me like $1,500 for all these extra charges they never mentioned. Do your research and make sure that you're ready to ask the right questions so you can find out what all of your costs are. Something else that conveyancers will offer you is title insurance. Title insurance is a one-off cost. It protects you while you own the property against things like fraud and fences are in the wrong place, council hasn't approved certain structures on the property. There's a huge list. I'll leave a link in the description giving you a bit more information about title insurance. During the settlement process, you'll have to do a rates adjustment. Your seller may have already paid the council rates for 12 months, the water rates in advance, and strata fees, for example. Because they've paid these costs in advance, let's say they've paid them for 12 months and you're buying a property and settling 6 months in. Now, the extra 6 months that the owner hasn't used, you will reimburse them for that cost. A lot of the time, these extra little costs that we're talking about will be upfront and will come out of cash rather than the loan. So just be mindful of that when you're calculating your deposit amount and all of the extra costs that we're talking about. You may also have to pay for your utilities to be connected, so water, gas, electricity, so be mindful of those costs as well. Before the property settles, it's wise to get building insurance taken out, so that way from the moment that it settles, the property is covered. You may also want to add contents insurance to that too, so just be aware and get quotes up to settlement so you know how much this cost is going to be, as it's likely an upfront payment that's going to come out again of your slush funds or your hard-earned savings. Well, I've listed all of these costs. It's not all doom and gloom. There are some grants available in different states and different territories which will assist you with your purchase. For example, in WA, there's something called the Home Buyers Assistance Account. And it's basically $2,000 which will be reimbursed to you after settlement to cover your, miscellaneous costs in regards to buying a property. Settlement fees, your building inspections, termite inspections, things like that. Do your research, have a look in which state or territory you're in, and find out what grants are available to you. So congratulations, property settled, you've got the keys. Now what? Well, I guess there's more costs that are ongoing, and most people treat these as just extra costs, but it's good just to be mindful of these prior to getting the bill for them. So the first one is moving costs. So what's going to cost you to get all of your stuff or to move your life from your old property into your new one? Get quotes for removalists, or buy a couple of cartons and get a few friends to load up some trucks. I'm sure they'll be willing to give you a hand. So once you've got all your stuff in the property and you've moved in, there's still other costs that you'll have to be aware of. Getting the keys cut. If the property's been tenanted for years and years, it might be wise to get new keys to the property. So that way you just know that you've got the only set and that the property is properly secure. Quick fix-ups around the home. Now there might be a few little things that you want to do just to make the property feel a little bit more your own, and just to touch up those little things that it needed. Tip I give to a lot of first home buyers is not to worry about massive renovations. I often say to people, live in there for a while, get a feel for what the property is like, and in time you'll work out your own style and then renovate when you're ready and you're really confident with what you want to do. That'll save on having to spend extra money doing things twice. Unforeseen repairs. Now, an example of this is when my wife and I first moved into our first place. We settled in nicely, and then basically we had our first rains. And in those rains, between where the gutters and the downpipes are in the eaves, all of those sections had been rusted out. So basically all of our eaves flooded, and that had to be repaired immediately. So that was a cost we hadn't allowed for, that we had to pay out of our own pockets and had to pay pretty quick. So just have a bit of a slush fund ready, just in case there's stuff that your building inspector or you and your family missed when having a look around the property. Furniture and appliances. Now, these are costs that we just usually leave for later, but there are essentials that you will need. So just make sure that you've got a little bit of money aside for those. And a great idea is to, if you're going to have a housewarming, maybe ask people for gift vouchers instead of gifts. Sometimes you might end up with 4 toasters and 2 kettles. Whereas if you've got gift vouchers for the places that you need, it'll go a long way with helping you buy what you need. Garden maintenance is often overlooked as well. So if you don't have a lawnmower and whippersnipper and all of the stuff you need to upkeep the gardens, you might end up hiring someone to start with until you've got everything that you need. So just allow for this cost, because getting a lawnmower and all the gardening done every 4 weeks can add up pretty quick. So there you have it. There's a list of costs and hidden fees associated with buying your first place. Now I want to hear from you guys. Did I miss anything? Do you have any questions about the topics that I've covered? Are you in a certain state and not sure about what grants or concessions are available? Leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks so much, guys. My name's Jeremy Shirazi and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're new here, give us a like, share it, comment, say hello. Guys, have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you next time.